Welcome to Color My Spirit channel. Woohoo! We are here today with Miss Beautiful Candace. We're here to talk about her amazing gifts and all these. I can't wait just to go into it. So, Candace, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yes, awesome. So I'm excited to be here. I've been with Color My Spirit for a little while now, but haven't really popped in here because I was busy making a baby. Um, Priorities. So I'm Candace Patrick. My company is Journey with Your Soul. I started my company in 2018. Um, and yeah, so I'm kind of like a corporate escapee. I did like the whole corporate thing and worked my way up and got really, really miserable. And I didn't matter how many crystals I used or meditations I did throughout the day, I just cried a lot. And my soul was like begging for me to take the leap and make a change. So I started my business on a whim and really just dove into helping people heal themselves through some of the different practices that I was using at the time. So when I started my business, I was doing past life readings and Reiki sessions and using crystals. And as I started growing and expanding my knowledge for my own healing, it turned into finding that my passion is really teaching. So I've started teaching these different workshops on different things. So I work with doing inner child healing and do womb healing. And I just created this whole portal, which I'm really excited about because I teach a lot about shadow work and like all these amazing things that are really powerful, individual classes. Um, but I just turned like it's this portal is kind of like an academy with all of my workshops all in one. That's like self-paced, so people can go in and experience it for themselves at their own pace, and have some like truly transformational healing. I've taken some ladies through it with some different programs that I call like the Radiate from Within program, which is like a 6 week container to transform like from the inside. And we dive into, like repressed memories and human design and everything energy and how to really reclaim your power. So there's a lot of powerful stuff in there, which I'm really excited about. Um, but yeah, so I do all kinds of interesting things in my business, but my passion is teaching. So it always ends up coming back to teaching. So I do readings in human design, which I think we're going to talk about a little bit, where I kind of teach about that. And I have a crystal shop and
Mhm.
teach people how to use the crystals, not just carry them, but how to actually use them and feel empowered to, yes, to use them. Um, and know why you're using them. So I've got all kinds of things that I've been doing, and it's all stuff that I've been working on in my own world through my own healing from the different things throughout my life that have kind of led me here. So lately, I've been doing a lot of shadow work healing. Kind of really guiding women through the shadows so that they can come home to themselves and love themselves whole again. And that's really my purpose here on this planet
Mhm.
is to help each person to really see the truth of who they are, even the dark side of it, and love that into light so that we can like rise up. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
No, I love that about you. That actually you're one of my favorite teachers. Definitely, because I mean, I you and I started around 2018 as well, and I mean, for where you had started and then where I was, I love how you and I have we've been climbing that ladder together in a
Yeah.
sense. Like even like what you were doing, like your human design is freaking phenomenal. Like I even when we did this reading, you know, even stuff about myself, what I learned, like how you're telling me I'm a manifester and that's super rare, and things like that. And getting into it, it was beautiful. Like how it just helped me realize a lot about myself. Like even you said like my self temper. It's or I think it's non-self temper. Yeah, and it's anger. And it's funny because I have that trigger and you helped me like understand that better about myself. It's like the anger isn't me, it's just it's what happens, like in a sense, like, but I have the ability to control it, like in a way. But it was beautiful how you explained it to me, and it helped me so much, like in my life, on my journey and stuff like that. What's your favorite part about human design?
Well, I'm so glad that's been helpful for you. That's why I started teaching human design, because I started diving into it on my own, and it took me a long time to really understand what the heck it is, because it's like a whole nother language. And it like blew me away once I started realizing how quickly I can shift my energy back into alignment, because we have that not self theme, and there's like um, an emotion for each person. So
Yeah.
anger, mine is frustration. So really, anytime I'm feeling frustration, it means I'm out of alignment somewhere, and I can like quickly recognize like, whoa, okay, where am I trying to prove something or force something, or where am I stepping out of who I truly am? That's causing this frustration, and then I can like quickly, like almost immediately bounce back, instead of waiting a week or a month and being stuck in that like frustration state. So I think that's like a beautiful part of the human design, because human design is really like, we're all so completely unique. And
Hmm.
it's like an energetic blueprint of who we really are, like how we were wired to think, act, behave. It's kind of, one of my recent clients said after her reading, she said, I feel like you just gave me a permission slip to be myself for the first time.
Exactly. Yeah, no,
And it's kind of like,
exactly.
it like validates all the things that we tend, in the healing world, we tend to think that we're broken in some capacity, and we're always trying to fix ourselves. But with human design, it's not about fixing, it's about recognizing this is who you are, this is how you operate, and learning to work with it and accept those pieces of yourself, instead of trying to shove yourself into this box that society's always trying to put us in. It's like, no, let's take the lid off, break the box open,
Yep.
and let's like be our authentic self. And another thing that I thought was really cool, like the more readings that I do for people, the more it shows me just how incredibly unique we are. And it helps me have more compassion for other people, because, you know, we respond to things so differently from each other. A lot of things are, similar in a sense, but when it comes down to like our unique little pieces of the puzzle, um, it's like, okay, I can't really be so angry at this person, or this family member, because
Hmm.
you know what? I know I respond in one way, but they may be responding in a completely different way and not even realize it. So it really kind of helped me have more compassion for other people. And I know when I did one for my mom, she was like, all right, well, now you need to do one for your dad, because this is like marriage counseling right here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, no wonder we never understand each other. Um, and I've had a lot of parents do that with their children too, which is pretty cool. Just understanding how, why your child, um, like ways to parent your child so that
Yeah.
they grow and expand instead of shutting them down. And why some discipline works for some children and not for others, and the whole nine yards. So it's really interesting to, as you like.
That's actually a brilliant idea. I'm actually being like, hey, you should do my daughter, Evie. I would love to know that. Like, that's really cool. No, that's a great idea. We'll do that together.
Yeah, people have
No.
been buying them for like gifts for their family, because it's like once they figure out theirs, they're like, okay, now I need to know everything about everybody else.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, human design is pretty it's been pretty amazing. Really like diving into that, and it's a newer modality, so people haven't heard as much about it either, because hasn't been around as long. So it's fun to explore it.
Yeah. Do you by chance do you know how long it has been around?
It came about in the 80s, so
Nice.
where astrology's been around for ever.
Ever. Yeah.
This is like it's definitely newer. So, and you can get that chart that you're holding there. You can get the chart free online. Anybody can do that, but that it looks like that, and you're kind of like, well, what the heck does any of this mean?
Hmm.
So you can kind of do some research and different things on your own, like I did, which took a long time to really grasp, because it does like speak in another language almost. That's not like normal English in a way. So with my readings, when I offer them, I hop on a call for an hour and we talk about like all the ins and outs of everything in that chart so that you can understand it in like normal talk. And I type everything up into a report that's a multi-page report that you get afterwards so that you can come back to it anytime and know like if you want to dive deeper into human design and different pieces of your chart because it can go and go and go like deeper and deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And deeper. You'll understand what you're looking at because now you know what these terms mean and how your specific chart um, how it shows your inner workings. So that's what I offer when I do my
Yeah.
human readings, and that's why I like doing them. Um, so
No,
yeah.
that's awesome. No, I love that. And then you also you sell crystals, obviously, because I that you're like literally the only person I'll buy crystals from. um, whenever I go, it's the feeling of them, like where you get them. Like this one, I don't know if you could see it. It's like the reddish, pinkish,
Is that the
lightish.
hematoid quartz?
Yeah, the hematite. Yeah.
What I'm wearing too.
Nice.
This was
Yeah.
actually the first crystal I ever bought, and I had no idea what it was all about. I went in a crystal shop in Raleigh and I picked one up and I was like, oh, this one feels good. And I wore it and wore it and wore it. And then I didn't find out till much later that it's all about like self-love and like empowering yourself. And that point in my life, I was getting out of a really toxic relationship and trying to like rebuild who I was and refine like I didn't know who Candace was anymore.
Hmm.
Um, and so I was rebuilding my life, and this crystal, like, whoa, I love it. It's so much
It,
fun
it
energy.
it totally makes sense because it's funny because I keep this on my shelf behind me and I can't tell you how many times it keeps like ever since the new year has started, it keeps knocking down like
Oh,
pick me
really?
up, pick me up, like
Notice
every time, and I'm
me.
like, okay, I'll hold you.
Yeah.
So I totally get that because I've this past year I've just been like super, excuse me, supercharged on just focusing on business and myself, and so yeah, no, this is a great little addition just to hold or put in your bra or whatever, to
Yeah.
give that extra boost. And then also I love this one. It's the ocean jasper that
Hmm.
you and this I love this. See,
Yeah.
you can see the heart.
Oh, look at the heart. Yeah. You know, what I love about ocean jasper is it's one of the crystals that has such a cool energy to it. It's a very
Hmm.
like go with the flow kind of let go energy. And what's neat about it is it comes from Madagascar, and that specific type of ocean jasper is only found on this side of a cliff at low tide that they have to like go down in a canoe and get it out. So it's like super rare to actually get that jasper because it's so hard to get to.
Yeah,
And it's the only place that they found it. So it's
that's
really
awesome.
it's a really I love that stone. Um, and in my shop, so I have most of my shop is online in what I call Candace's Crystal Cave, which is my shop. It's on Facebook in a Facebook group, and I post in there education about the crystals and how to use them. And of course, you can buy them. I ship all over the country because I'm based in Florida right now, but I was in North Carolina for 10 years before this. So I do little pop-ups around here in Florida, and I do live streaming of different sales and when I get new things. And I've got all kinds of fun stuff in my shop. Like I got like the big pieces like
The amethyst.
amethyst,
Yes.
and I've got all the fun goodies, and like this is pyrite and it's super sparkly, and I have some really big pieces of pyrite too. But because it's an online shop, I have less overhead, so I can keep my prices at a you know reasonable rate.
Hmm.
A lot of times you go to the crystal shops right now and the prices are like so high because crystals are in demand, which you know I could jack my prices up too, but my soul and like my spirit guides are like, we're doing this for healing. Like it doesn't
Right.
feel right to me to just because everybody else is jacking them up to do the same. So I actually asked the crystal like, hey, what are you worth? And it will give me the price. And it's interesting sometimes. I'm like, are you sure that price? And then someone will come in and they're like, oh my God, I need that crystal. And this is the price, like totally good price for it. I'm like, okay. And other times I'm like, are you sure you're not undervaluing yourself? And then the person that finds it and they're like, oh my gosh, like I've been having a really hard time and like this crystal's really calling to me. And I'm like, okay, well that makes total sense on why this crystal, like because they have like just different energy, like they're talking to us all the time. It's just a matter of if we're listening. So the crystals that I use in my shop, I hand select and I make sure that they're ethically sourced from around the world. And I work with a lot of the mine owners too. So I feel really good that these crystals come with high vibrations to help on healing journeys, because it makes a difference where you get your crystals. You can get them like on Amazon these days, but you're not guaranteed that what you're getting is, one, authentic, or two, it's been cared for in a way that it's going to be a good healing crystal for you.
Exactly.
You want to make sure that you're using real things that's been, you know, they're being taken from Mama Gaia, and like, is Mama Gaia being cared for where they're being taken from? Because some minds are just like, it's not
Hmm.
good out there somewhere, some places. So I try to make sure that the companies I work with are really ethical companies. So I feel good about the crystals in my shop. So if anybody wants to come in and join my crystal cave, it's on Facebook. It's called Candace's Crystal Cave. It's free to join and bring all your crystal loving friends and come learn a little bit more about crystals, because I love teaching about them, and they love being taught about. So
Exactly. And
uh,
I mean, that's another thing I admire about you, how much you've traveled. Like Candace at her house, she has this big map of like the United States, and it's like she's got these little pins of everywhere she's been, and I swear it's like basically almost covered. But I love it. I love that you have this knowledge of going to all these different places and stuff, like just being able to travel and go, because there's like so many secret places in the world, like even they show, I know, like on like Pinterest they'll have the map of like the whole United States. You can go in the circle, and but I know there's so many places that people could miss,
right.
so that's why I'm always
Yeah.
like, I need to talk to Candace. Where are the places,
Yeah.
where to
So
go.
that's one of the things that is actually Spirit's been telling me to do for a while, is spiritual journey planning. So that's actually a piece that I've been starting to offer recently, helping people to plan their road trips, their journey, because it's one thing if you're going on a road trip to just go somewhere. I can still help with that, but if you're going to, like, if you're going solo, it's even better, because that's how I travel. And I think it's freaking awesome. And everybody should at least go for at least a day somewhere by themselves to experience it, because you'll never understand how strong and powerful you are and capable you are until you have an opportunity to use that information and like show it to yourself. But I've been helping people to plan out, going to the different spiritual vortexes and the energy portals and these sacred locations throughout the country, and Canada. And, the best routes to get there to see like beautiful scenic things, or like the fastest routes if that's what you prefer. Or do you want to camp in a tent, or do you want to be in like a luxury hotel, or finding the right Airbnb, or, excursions? Do you want to do a hike that's like a short hike, or a really like super intense hike that's you're going to get super sweaty but see amazing things? And so I kind of help to plan these trips for people, because I think it's so important, for one, us to get out and reconnect with Mother Nature. That's why I got into crystals to begin with, is like Mother Nature's constantly calling me. And my I'm a grid worker at heart. So like I'm a light worker to help, humanity, but I'm also like a grid worker to help the planet. And I've been called to all these locations throughout my life, but over the last few years, I've traveled like, the amount of miles I've put on my car is insane. I think it was in 2 years, 80,000 miles on my
Nice.
car. And most of the time I'm camping out of my car or in my tent, and traveling to just like, I'll find cool places. Like I'll make a road trip to like Sedona or something. I was on a national park kick for a while, so I was like, I'm going to hit all these spots. But on the way, I didn't really have like a plan. I was just going and letting my soul decide where to go, and it would like call me to take a left down this road. I'm like, okay, let's go. And I would use my human design, like I'm a sacral center, like that's where my authority is. So as soon as I got okay, let's do it. That was my yes to like my soul answer. So I take a left, and then I'd find like this amazing waterfall that isn't even on the map. And then I sit there and I meditate and find out like all these spirit guides are here, and it's like a portal. And it's like, it's not on the map. So I'm like, find all these amazing places. And then I find like all these little crystals along the way that pop up up like, hey, thanks for listening to your soul. Here's a little gift. But when I'm at these places, I'm meditating and sending Reiki back to Mama Gaia and healing and kind of activating different grid lines. And I've, I've learned to really find the freedom and communicate with my soul. And I get all the really awesome channel messages when I'm out in nature. So that's like where I love to be. Having a baby this last year has kind of put that on a little bit of a pause. At least now he's a little bit older, so we started traveling. So I'm excited to like throw him in his first tent when it gets a little bit warmer because he's still a little cold. Um, but um, but but yeah, so that's like a huge piece. I mean, I sold my house so I could travel full time. And that is, a lot of people are like, wow, you're crazy. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, I am more sane than I've ever been in my entire life. Like, this is amazing. And being able to help people to experience that, even if it's just a weekend trip or if they want to do cross country and all the way back, that's like, it's amazing. The first trip I ever did, I hadn't even been like I was in a tent one time before, like my whole life. But I had a tent and I'm like, well, I can figure out how to use it. And I took my 10-pound Shih Tzu and my little car, and I saw this lake on Instagram. It was beautiful, and I like put it in my little bucket list folder on my phone. I'm like, wait a second, what am I waiting for? Like, left my corporate job. I can take my business anywhere because I didn't really know what I was doing at the time anyway. And I didn't have a husband or kids at the time, so I was like, why not go check this out? And I looked, and it was like in like Western Canada. I'm like, well, maybe I'll just see things along the way. So I told my parents I was going to Canada. They're like, yeah, right, we'll see you in like 2 weeks. I'm like, yeah, it's probably gonna be like a month. But I ended up going up through Niagara Falls and then went to Toronto and then all the way across to Vancouver Island, down into Washington, and all the way back across. And I was gone 61 days, went 15,000 miles, and slept in my car 21 of those days, and realized when I got back, I'm like, I don't need a full house for anything except for stress and worries and financial burdens. So I
Right?
was like, I want to sell my house and do this full time. So um, I learned so much about myself and how capable I was, just, you know, and how to trust myself. I mean, I set my car on fire at one point, so it ended up like that was like, it wasn't all good and glamorous. There were some scary moments, and how to deal with that, and how to handle it, and how to. It was a battery issue. It wasn't like, it was under control, but there were flames under the hood, so it was enough to scare me.
Yeah.
Um,
When you're by yourself and
yeah,
well with Cookie, your dog, and
yeah. But a lot of the trip I didn't have cell service, or I didn't have uh, I didn't even have radio, and I had
no.
to just learn to sit and be with myself and the discomfort and understand, if something happens, how am I going to handle it? So I had a lot of time to just be and think, and I was like, wow, I'm actually a lot of fun by myself. And it really, that journey transformed me. So I love being able to introduce people into their own journeys and what works in their world, because everybody's different. Not everybody's going to go take 2 months and go travel to do
Yeah.
something like that. But I think everyone should at least take a day to go do something on their own and really feel like, wow, this is what my energy feels like by myself.
hmm
So
No,
just
I was totally gonna agree with you on that. Like something that I've realized, if you want even like mental health or it's really being by yourself, a suggestive out in the woods is great. Hiking is a great one. But yeah, just taking that time, you learn so much,
Mhm.
because you learn about yourself and everything. So yeah, that's something I've definitely learned. It's going out for a walk or just taking that time and doing that for you. So I totally get that. What's your favorite place you've ever been?
Um, That's a tricky one because there's so many incredible ones. When I was in Canada, Jasper, Canada, most people talk about like Banff and how beautiful the mountains are there, but a lot of people don't make it all the way up to Jasper, which is on the other side, like the northern side of the Icefields Parkway, which is in itself, like if you ever go to Canada, go to the Icefields Parkway because you see like glaciers and mountains and waterfalls, and it's like absolutely mind blowing. and Jasper had like these incredibly blue like aqua lakes in the middle of this like snowy scene, and it was amazing. And also Mount Shasta in California. I was out there last year, and I was just kind of like driving through with no plan of like figure out when I get there. And as soon as I rolled into town, I normally like really I love food, and I'm a foodie, and I'm like trying like the best things on different menus, and I will do that research and be like, where's the best burger in town or something like that. Um, and I got to town, and like Spirit told me, you're not going to eat here. I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean I'm not going to eat here? Like, what? And there's like a headwaters there, where it's like this like pure water coming right from like the mountain. And like I was guided to like gather a bunch of water and do a water fast on and stay there until I heard that it was time to go. So I did, and I actually camped in my car at the top of Mount Shasta, as like high as you can go overnight each night, and then I was in the woods during the day, and I was meditating, and I was in and out of these different portals, and just healing, and it
Mm-hmm.
was so incredible. And then one day I woke up and I got the inner message of like it's time to go, time to move on, and I was like, oh, I don't really want to leave this place, it's so beautiful. But it was time, and I left, and as soon as I left like the mountain, I felt this like uh, internal activation of like my cells, like a lot of portals you go into and you can feel like that, ooh, this feels good to be here. And for Shasta, for me, my experience was not a like, this feels really good. It was like a, whoa, my DNA is shifting right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a really neat experience. And Sedona, of course, is always beautiful, like the different areas there. And but my favorite, I really love the North Carolina mountains. Like they're gorgeous.
I love it. No, that is the best.
I miss them.
Right? No, I love it. One thing though, one of my favorite, I mean, when I first met you, you were getting into past life reading, or you were into past life reading, should I say. That was one of my favorite things also about you, just because like even your eyes, like if you ever get a chance to look at Candace's eyes, they're like layered. There's like blue, there's yellow, there's green, there's I mean, it's the coolest thing to me. And to me, when I look at that, I see your other lifetimes, like you have lived so many lifetimes, in the past and things like that. And that's something that I admire about you. And then even like I kind of knew that we had like other lives, but didn't know really a lot about it until you gave me like a reading. And then it was like, wow, and even now, like it's cool, like because I keep all my stuff, and the reading, I love going back to them because it tells a whole different story than you did the first time you read it, and stuff
Right.
like that. And it's just so neat to have that, ability, because you go, how do you do it? Like you go to meditation
Yeah.
to do
So
it.
when I do my past life readings, they're always done long distance. So we set like an intention for it, and then I go into meditation for an hour, and I connect to your energy and the Akashic records. And typically when I do a reading for somebody, I'll have 3 to 4 lifetimes, well, 3 to 5 lifetimes typically will come through. And I'll write them all down, and then I type them into like a report, like you see, because one, it's a lot of information to digest, and sometimes it's not all rainbows and butterflies and princess and fairy things. Like sometimes it's like heavy things that come through because we're doing it for the intention of healing for your highest and greatest good. It's not just for fun, like I've done those before, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm here for like healing. So I like to, it's not just about knowing that you had this past life here, and, you were a queen or a king in this other lifetime, and you had this like feast or famine thing going. It's about how to use that information to heal in the present, because it's coming through for a reason. So there's, you can access them just to know that, oh, I've got this energy of, this princess or this goddess. But when you recognize like this is coming through right now because I'm working through something in my life and this is an area that I can heal. It's like kind of giving direction to specific points of healing in your current world. Um, that's why I love doing them the way that I do them. Because if I sat in like, I'm so sensitive to energy that if I were to just sit in front of you, I'd pull up so much information that it wouldn't
Oh
like,
yeah. Yeah.
you wouldn't remember any of it at the end of our session. And I wouldn't either. So, and I love that you can go back and reread it because it's all typed up, because every time you shed a layer in your life, everything's in a cycle. So we go back, we're like, "Ooh, that's right, I did go through that." And like, wow, like this isn't even something in my life anymore because I've moved through it so many times in so many different cycles. Or, oh yeah, I forgot about that wound. And it's like ways to re-experience it, I guess. And it's a lot less um, emotionally charged for like you, or whoever the client is, when you do it like this versus if you do like a regression where you're actually going back and you're experiencing it. Sometimes that can be really heavy and it kind of scares people a little bit. It shouldn't, it doesn't have to, but some people are just kind of intimidated by re-experiencing, what if that was not a good lifetime. Where here I'm experiencing it and putting it down there for you so that you don't have to like have that emotionally, you know, charged things, even though it's really
Yep.
healing to do it that way. But everyone's at different layers in their journey. So, um, and then afterwards, after I send the report, we hop on a call to chat about what's in there because there's always questions. So, that's how I, got started in my business. And I actually published a book about past lives and, the whole theory, how they work, or the concept, and 7 lifetimes that had come through for me when I was writing the book, and how I use that information to heal. So, kind of showing you how to do the healing from the information that you get, and also some resources on how to do it yourself. So I have a book out about that. I also have a book out about the shadow work journey and how to heal through your shadows. It's really intense. It's a big book. It's a big book. I recommend to save some trees, getting the Kindle version, but they're on Amazon. And I was also part of another book. It was a group collaboration, an international one, and we actually were an Amazon bestseller internationally, which was really cool. So it's neat to be able to like say that I reached that.
That is really cool. Yeah.
But I have 2 of my own out there right now, so they're um, they're very opening for people. But that seems to be kind of what I'm here for. So I
Exactly.
don't sugarcoat things. I give things with love, but I give them very truthfully, and I'm here to like call you forward with love when I see you standing in your own way. So
Yeah.
um, that's what I'm here for. You
No,
want
I
to be
love
my
that.
friend?
Right? That is awesome.
Mm.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say, like, how so you've only read 2 books? Is it 2? Or is it
Yeah,
more than
so I've
2?
got 2 published out there right now.
That's awesome. Now, for some reason, I thought you had more, but I'm sure you will. So for
Yeah.
sure,
Well,
Spirit's
the
probably
2
like, oh yeah.
and the third one was like I did the past life one, and then I did the collaboration one, and then I did the third one. So I guess there's 3 of them.
Hmm.
But yeah, so
That's awesome. I love that. So, is there any advice or anything you want to give to the world or anything?
you know, I think that the biggest there's so many things coming through. Um, the biggest thing that I've been, it doesn't matter how much womb healing you do for your traumas. It doesn't matter how much, you know, manifestation work you do to bring in more money. It doesn't matter, everybody's looking for, the loving relationship of their dreams and everything. And there's nothing wrong with any of that because we do it all. I do it all too. And I teach it all. But the key to like all the healing is your inner child. Like if you don't know how to light yourself up, like if you don't know what makes you happy, what makes you feel alive, what makes you feel like so excited from like here that your like chest is bubbling with excitement, like a little child when they see bubbles, like if you don't know what does that for you, that is where you need to start on your journey, because the inner child is like key. When she feels like she is like, or little he, feels like they're seen and loved and like they're having fun, that's where you become alive again in your life, and that's where like all of the magic really comes from, is that. So like it seems like no matter what kind of healing I do with people, it all comes back to the inner child. Is that inner child taken care of? So if there's one thing you do in 2024, find out what makes you friggin' happy because like,
Exactly.
and not what, society says makes you happy, like what makes your heart like overload with bubbles and sparkles and excitement. That is the key to your healing, and it'll guide you in all the right directions. If you're not familiar with the inner child, I do have like a whole self-paced program on that too, because it's such an important part of healing. But that would be my advice.
I love that. That's it's just I know I love it because it's like you're like a Swiss Army knife, like you have all these amazing abilities. Like even don't you do womb like healing process too, like meditations and things like that as well?
Yep,
Like
I teach people
yeah,
how to meditate when they're just getting started. I teach the energy system, the chakras. I like I call myself kind of like the high vibe toolbox. Like there's so many tools inside, and I want
exactly.
like people to learn how to do it themselves so that they don't need to call on me or somebody else every time that they have a bad day. Not that they can't, but the idea is that we can all start to be our own healer. So there's so many things, and that's why I created that rebirth portal, because we go through so many deaths and rebirths in our life. Every time we go through like healing, like sometimes we're going through that, you know the our shadows, and we come back to the light again. It's like a death and a rebirth, a death and a rebirth. So I have this rebirth
Exactly.
portal, and it has like all of these things in here, so at whatever point in the journey you're on, like it's in there. And it's just like a one time fee to get in, and um you can do it all at your own pace. So it's I'm excited. I was led to create that because I think it's going to be really powerful for people that take advantage of it. Um, but
I love that. Definitely love that. Thank you so much today for meeting with me and doing this and talking about yourself. Like I just love that. I love that. I love everything about it. It's
well,
amazing.
thank you for doing it.
Yes,
It's always
definitely,
good to
definitely.
be in your energy.
Yes, yes. And then also thank you, Spirit Team, Guardian Angels, all good light beings in the golden light. We appreciate everything that you have able to for Candace Patrick to talk about and just grow and love and all that good stuff and put healing juju and vibes and on everybody else and just lots of warm hugs. I love it. So
Yeah.
that's great. So thank you so much, Candace, and I'll see you soon.
Yes.
Bye.